Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Corona Moment that I'd like to share some of the things that God's been saying to me as we go through this season of this virus and all the calamity that it's caused on our nation. As I was thinking about how I would approach today, I reflected back just a few weeks ago. I was working on my lawnmower. I knew it'd soon be time to mow grass, and there were some things that I needed to repair, and I had a couple questions that I couldn't answer. So I went to my file, got my manual out, and I read what the engineers that designed the mower, what they told me to do, and how they explained I should fix this particular issue. And I did, and it worked great. And the reason it worked is because the engineers who designed the mower, they understood how best to fix it. And I didn't know, wasn't sure. Now, I want you to have that in your mind, that idea of a mower. I think we can all pretty much understand that. But I want you to also think about you now. You and I, we may think we understand best how we should be living our lives and governing ourselves. But really, just like I didn't know how to fix my mower, we really don't know how best to care for ourselves. We need to go to the one that designed us, the one that understands how we are designed to function and find our fulfillment and satisfaction in life. And that's God, of course. He's the one that understands what's happening in this time of the virus, and He knows some of the things that we're experiencing. I shouldn't say that. He knows all the things we're experiencing. And He's also the one that gave us two of these sayings that I want to give to you today, right from His Word. The first one is Psalm 118, verse 24. For some, I imagine it'll be a familiar saying. This is the day that the Lord has made. This day that the coronavirus and all that's taking place, this is the day the Lord has made. And then it concludes, let us rejoice and be glad in it. God does not want His people to be overcome by fear. God doesn't want His people to be depressed, discouraged. God wants His people to find His joy in this day that He gave to us, even in the stresses of all that's happening in our nation. We were designed to find this day that God has made, to rejoice in the day He's given us. Let me give you one more. That was Psalms, the one I just gave you, Psalm 118, verse 24. Now I'm giving you Proverbs chapter 15, verse 13. Proverbs 15:13 tells us, a glad heart makes a cheerful face. A glad heart makes a cheerful face. But by the sorrow of heart, the spirit is crushed. A glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart, the spirit is crushed. You see, we weren't designed to just be inundated with negativity. God didn't create us that way. He wanted us to rejoice in the day that He's given us. He said a glad heart makes us healthy and strong, but when we just get negative things upon negative things, it just crushes our spirit. And one of the things that I've noticed in this whole corona discussion is just one negative report after another. I don't know if you picked up on it or not, but it seems like the media is just obsessed with giving us negative things upon negative things. This many people have the corona. This many people have died. And it's tragic, of course it is. But it's just negative and negative. They don't talk to us about the things that God has been doing, and people that have gotten the coronavirus and they've been able to recover thanks to the help of the Lord. They've recovered. Their life is going forward. I was just listening to some of those reports this morning of people that have recovered, and God has enabled them to go on with their life through that healing. So there's a lot of good things, but the media is not giving it to us, and I think too many of us spend time with the media, more time than we need to, and that negativity is just coming into our spirits. It's crushing them. I read a survey that involved 1,000 people across 17 countries. It spanned every continent except Antarctica. And this is what they concluded. It probably isn't going to surprise you much. It concluded that on average, people pay more attention to negative news than to positive news. That was published in the LA Times. Now, I don't know that that's any revelation to most of us, But just pause a moment and think about it. If you spend so much time listening to the media that is promoting so much negativity, what do you think is going to happen to your spirit? You weren't designed for that by God. He made us to rejoice in the things that He's doing. He made us to have a merry heart. He made us to have optimism and hope because that's who He is our God. And He wants us to live in that way. But we often want to focus on the negative. And so in this time together, I'm just encouraging you. Some of you are going to need to turn the media off for a while. Some of you are going to need to get other sources in which you're going to get your news from, and you're going to start to get some of the positive things God's doing. For the sake of your own spirit, you need to do that. So I was thinking about where I get my own news feed and how I try to avoid some of this negativity. One of the things that I've found very helpful is a program called The World and Everything in It. The World and Everything in It. Now, I do that on a podcast, but you could get that on a PC or your Mac or wherever you get your have opportunity to get on the internet. But it's The World and Everything in It. I find it really encouraging. It gives you the perspective of the world from a Christian worldview, but it's very objective, I think. But it's not negative all the time. It does give you the news, but it also talks about the many good things that God's doing. I find it encouraging, as well as staying informed. So I just offer that to you if that's helpful, The World and Everything in It. You can find that at theworldandeverything.org, worldandeverything.org. So that's a way to find a source that would be helpful and lift you up. Also, I want to share with you that if you would like to, this Sunday, 10:45, if you want to join us for our worship service as we have a live feed, if you'd like to be a part of that, I'm going to be speaking particularly about God in Corona. That's what I've titled my message, God in Corona. And what I'm going to try to lead us in is, what is God saying? What's the voice of God in this time? What's He speaking to His people? And so I'm going to try to give you perspective on what God is saying. And He's got a lot of things to say. And I hope you'll find that encouraging. So if you'd like to tune in for that, I just invite you to do it. That is, you can find it at live.casteenchurch.com. live.casteenchurch.com. We'll be there at 10:45. If you want to be a part of that, I'd sure invite you to do it. And I'm just going to try to build us up in the things of God. So this is Pastor Greg, and I hope this has been an encouraging time as we've had a Corona moment together. And I hope you'll turn some of that negativity off. You'll start putting some of the positive things in your spirit, because God wants you to rejoice in this day. It's one that He has made, and God wants you to have a merry heart. He doesn't want you to have a crushed heart. So that's our God, and I hope that you find His strength today as we go forward.